You know what? I chose a prayer to start this because it, it just figures. Do you mind? It's just a short one. Okay, center. Lord, bless my journey today as I go deeper into the vast territory of my soul. Just when I think I know myself, I discover a stranger living inside of me. I must accept the truth that I'm an endless, unknown creature, even to myself, perhaps especially to myself. With every new experience, I have to wonder, how will I cope? How will I respond to this? How will I respond to that? What will I say? I can never be certain what I'll do next. There's so much about myself I do not yet know or understand. So why then should chaos surprise me? I'm spinning in a wind tunnel, watching the fragments of my life rush by so very often. It's not up to you to stop these fragments. There's no prayer that will move heaven to piece together the odds and ends of my life, but you've given me that authority. It's up to me to become more aware, more attentive, more focused. That's my decision. Clarity of mind and soul will change how I live. A chaotic life ends up tossed about by fate, but clear-mindedness leaves room for courage and bold choices. I get that now. Self-knowledge is the pathway to the soul, so take me down deep, Lord, and reveal to me the reason you gave me life and my true self. Amen. Okay then, off we go. Now then, believe it or not, can you imagine when you walked in here, imagine that one day this would make sense to you. Okay. I had a very rich question this morning that will feed into this, and that's that so much of your life is motivated or maneuvered or guided by pain and trauma. I want you to think about that. I really want you to think about that. I want you to actually reflect on how much of who you are, how much of your identity, how much of your choices, how much of the way you think and what's shaped you, how you think about your health, how you think about your body. Where did that come from? But I don't know. Okay, thank you, Siri. Thank you. Thank you. How all righty. All right. How much you engage in how you construct your life is organized through your sense of your pain and dysfunction. And I want you to reflect on that for a minute. It's not organized by how utterly seduced you are by your talent or your potential or your relationship with the incredible and the mystical. But the mystery of why did this happen to me? And oh, poor me. And what's missing? And why did this happen? And my wounds. Now, I'm going to position you in the middle because this is your heart and your choice point, and your sixth is how you sculpt your reality, how you decide to focus, how you talk to yourself, how you interpret the world in which you live. If you look to the Aquarian world, to your highest, to your archetypal realm. You have your higher gifts, your soul's potential. What Teresa would say, go for the soul's capacity to interpret your life. If you go down here to your first, second, and third chakras, below the waist, down here, you will always look at the world, always, there is no exception to this, as what's missing. What else can I have? Who has more than me? Who has more? Why did they do this? You will always, 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 there is no exception. Look at the world through your victim, your child, your saboteur, and your prostitute. Those are the 4 archetypes. Come here, 8th chakra. Those are the 4 archetypal patterns in you. These are the 4 we share. But those are the 4 that dominate the world down here in you. Your victim, your child, your saboteur, and your prostitute. So I'm going to talk to you about how they talk to you. These 4 archetypal patterns. First, a pattern. All of you know what a pattern is, but you may not recognize it in yourself, but you certainly recognize it in others. And one of the greatest gifts is what Bill Wilson did in Alcoholics Anonymous. He identified a pattern, the alcoholic, the addict. And now everybody knows what a pattern is. And everybody who's ever had an addict in the family has used that and pulled that out of the hat and said, that's not really what my brother is like, or but that's the addict in him. That's the pattern. And when that pattern activates. So they know how to separate the pattern from the person. That's that pattern. And just yesterday I read this article in the Wall Street Journal. In fact, I kept it because I wanted to share it. The hell with that. But maybe should. But in it, the author is describing 3 patterns of how people handle money. So we are now using the language of archetypes. Authors, Malcolm, I can't forget, Gladwell. He uses patterns all the time, the outlier. We are now using, our culture, our society is so blinded to truth and finds it so uncomfortable, we had to create an archetype to tell the truth called the whistleblower. And then we arrest them. So we are now speaking this language. And we are now capable of identifying impersonal patterns. And here's the operative word. They're impersonal. And that's the upper altitude now. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is to become impersonal about your own life. Your own life. About learning to become impersonal. About the events that happen in the lower altitude. About learning how to stand in the middle and take the events of your physical world, but navigate them impersonally. This is a huge jewel. This is like the biggest jewel I can give you. This is why I'm accurate as an intuitive. Because I can take your personal events, and they're totally impersonal to me. They mean nothing to me. They mean everything to you. So I can interpret them. You send them here, see, hear me? You send them to me on your grid. This is how energy works, and I pick them up on my grid. So when someone says to me, how do you work it? There is nothing mystical, magical, or the word gift, which you're going to drop from your vocabulary, about what I do. This is the technical operating system of energy. This is how energy mail works. This is how email works on the energy system. There's no difference between the way email works in the soul and in the mental field. This is how the 8th, 7th system works. This is your bio-spiritual technology. You are a technical creature. You are a creature of law. You are not a disorganized creature. Your physical anatomy is not a random. Your heart doesn't take a walk in your body and say, today I think I'm going to sit here in the thigh. You are a well-organized system. And your energy field is as organized. And if your energy field is as organized, your micro, so is the macro. Which means that every thought form is organized. Which means that every thought form, where did my, which means that every thought on every level of vibration. Do I have a chakra system here? Here. Every thought form on every chakra vibration. Pythagoras saw the scale of music. Every thought form has a vibration that matches a sound, that matches a color. This universe is one huge organized system. That's how it works. That's how it works. It is one huge harmonic. That's how it works. And harmonics and sound convey data. They are data systems. Are you got it? That's how you get it, you got it. Which is why when you come into harmony, which is the 4th level in Buddhism, and this is the way of the heart, which I have to dwell in. Where's my heart? Here. I have to dwell in the heart. Which is what, this is the transition point. This is the 4th mansion in Teresa. It's the biggest area you're going to suffer and do your work. This is your transition. This is the center of the hourglass where you turn yourself upside down. This is where you're going to beat the hell out of yourself. This is where you change the coordinates of your reality. This is your mystical turning point. This is where you have to get a hold of yourself. This is your center right here, where you have to look at everything that's ever happened to you personally and decide not to take it personally. This is it right here. This is where Buddha says, pull your spirit back from all the things you've witnessed in matter and get here, the symbolic meaning of your journey. This is where you get to the I bow to you in gratitude. This is the forgiveness point. When you take everything here personally, as difficult and as ruthless as a personal life can be, as horrific as it can be, as brutal and horrible, being put in a cage, being abandoned, being kidnapped by people for all the horrible nightmares that happen, incest, rape, all the nightmare and ghoulish things that happen to humanity. And someone can say, I have been with people who've told me stories of being locked up in a closet for on and off for years as they grow up and sitting in their own defecation. I mean, and they've said to me, how can I forgive this? And they're right. They're absolutely right. How can they forgive this? How can they? And how do you say to them, well, let's go visit the 8th and 9th chakra and find out a symbolic reason for that, shall we? Right? How do you do that? How do you do that? And to be honest with you, in my private prayers, I'll say, what the hell did you give me that job for? Why do you think I want to sit with someone in this much pain when I want to look at you and say, you have so screwed up? Why am I cleaning up this mess? But this is a human mess. And what should I do? Should I look at them and say, I'll tell you what, why don't you just stay bitter? Because that's my gift to you. There is no explanation. Stay bitter and have at it. Stay hateful. That's the best thing I can say to you. Stay hateful, stay resentful. You know what? God hates you. The universe hates you. You just got the bad side of the draw. But I don't believe that. I so don't believe that. I absolutely, in my heart of hearts, cannot believe that. I will never believe that. I will never believe that no matter how painful a human life is, that we can leave someone in that pain. I will never believe that. Ever. And so no matter how much they want to scream, you have to let them scream because it's simply, you can't leave them there. You cannot. And I think part of letting them scream at you and even enduring the unendurable that you don't have an explanation is what it means to carry the cross with them. Because you don't have an explanation. And you wish you did. But you still have to say that you cannot leave people in their pain. And, oh, thanks, darling. I'm sorry about this. I should know better by now. But when this is the choice, I have to say to you, you can't leave yourself in that pain. You simply cannot. That your life is worth more than that. And this is a choice that even in your darkest moment, even in your moment of deepest self-pity, and we all have those dark moments, we all do, that I offer you this, and that's as perhaps weak a decision, or I'm telling you there's truth to this. This is a mystical explanation. It is not a logical one. Are you with me? This is a mystical perspective. And a mystical perspective means in order for it to truly sink into your soul, you have to pray with it. You have to pray with it. You have to sit with it and pray with it. And at first, and this is classic to a mystical truth, this is the way heaven works. When you get a mystical truth, the first thing you want to do is beat the hell out of it. Because what a mystical truth does is it challenges it challenges your first column. Because your first, second, and third chakras always want logic. They operate by Hammurabi's code. The thing about your lower chakra system is that it always operates on logic and reason and a sense of earthly justice. And this part of you was raised on the 10 Commandments. This part of you is tied to the idea that justice revolves around you. Around you. And that somehow there is a logical explanation for why things happen as they do. So this is the part of you that looks up, and this is the part of you that wants a God to be an off-planet parent. That somehow, if you suffer enough, this God will come in and reward you. This is a part of you that even though you may not admit that in your more up here when we're sitting around and you're looking at me with your PhD or your master's or your accomplishments as a physician or a professor or whatever, you'd never admit that to me, but I know better. Because I know how you're wired. And I know that if I just was having dinner with your first, second, and third chakras, and I anesthetized this, I know exactly what you're thinking. Because I am the one who wrote the book on it. And I know exactly how these three chakras work. And these three chakras absolutely believe and want the world of justice to revolve around them. And this part of you, whenever you look up and say, there must be a reason why this happened, one of those chakras is speaking. It's your third. Go ahead, tell me you've never asked that. May lightning strike you. Okay? And that's your third chakra. How many of you have thought, this is just not fair, at least once in your life? Hannah, I want you to stand up, put both your hands and feet up, and float. That's liftoff for you. So let me explain archetypally what that is. That idea of fairness and justice, and you have to hear this, you have to. It has to just into you. What you're actually doing is you're actually in the mindset, and here, oh, please get this. This is Aries, so you're going back 2,500 years. You're actually in a mindset that's 2,500 years. You have to get this. You have to get that you're actually 2,500 years ago thinking in an almost ancient way that the world has been structured around you. That somehow the whole universe and justice belongs to you. That everybody was created to serve you. That every event that's ever happened is actually to serve you. How could this thing happen to me? How could everybody else's life not be devised to make things work just for me? And that's what you're questioning. How could anybody else's life have a cause and effect, an action and reaction, a purpose, a system of guidance? How could God be directing them when I'm the only one? How could I have past lives and karma, but them? Not them. So how could this happen to me? How could I believe in karma and the possibility that this might be a karmic thing, except that it didn't work out in my favor? So now, it's obviously not karma. It's a big, huge screw up. And I'm not moving till it's explained to me. I'm not playing fair. No, I need an explanation. That's what you're doing. Am I making myself clear? This is a huge pissy fit. And when you start saying things like, how could this happen to me? That's not a prayer you're going to get answered. Because it doesn't work that way. You don't get answers because you are just so angry. Because what you are actually saying is, you screwed up. I'm not supposed to have an uncomfortable life. That person is, that person is, that person is, but not me. So unless it's explained to me, I'm not playing. So let me offer you a mystical. But let me just say, all that theater was to explain to you that this is how you think below the waist. And don't ever tell me you don't. And worse, don't tell yourself you don't. Under the waist, you're entitled, you're spoiled, you're petulant, you're demanding, and you are anything but fair. It is all you first, and don't ever tell yourself you're not. Are you clear about yourself? Good. Now, let's go to the penthouse. The truth is, this is big, huge truth. We're all one soul. But the problem with that is that we have no idea what that means. Not only that, here's part two, we don't care. We could care less. That has absolutely no meaning to us whatsoever, especially when we're having a bad day. We could care less. However, what it does mean when it comes to the laws of creation and evolution is that everything we're experiencing, we are co-creating, including all the torments and nightmares human beings experience. We are co-creating all the violence and all the darkness. All life breathes together. And so all the wars, all the dark potential that we see in a human being is our own dark potential. So when we see child abuse, when we see pedophilia, when we see the nightmares out there, this is our collective humanity expressing itself through human beings who have experienced that. Am I making this clear? Just because you as an individual have not been beaten up or raped or molested does not excuse us who have not been from thinking that we are free from the psychic field of rapist or raper, molester or molestee, predator or predatee, because those archetypes have numbers of manifestations that are not physical. You can be an energetic rapist. You understand me? You can rape someone's energy field. They're called vampires. You can rape someone's creativity, or you can rape their opportunities through gossip, through maliciousness. You can take them down like this. That archetype is lethal. One of the reasons we judge each other before we even know each other is it's a form of destroying the rapist. It's a form of raping someone of power socially before they come into your circle, before you even want to give them a chance in terms of power. We're raping half the Muslim community in the United States right now by the politics, by the way we've decided to see them. Do you understand? You think we're talking fairly about them? You're crazy. See any politician talk about the Muslim community with any dignity? Not a chance. Not a chance. And that's called rape. So don't think the rapist is a physical act alone. And until we, as a collective, see each other communally with dignity, we will generate fields of psychic free radicals collectively. And those psychic free radicals will travel through us and into our communal field of creation. And our humanity will feed off of those psychic free radicals that will generate physical acts of creation. And those susceptible, archetypally, to that darkest energy that inspires that are most susceptible to those acts to incarnate them, will incarnate them and express them. What is in one is in the whole. What you do to the least, you do to everybody. It is Buddha an illusion that is not you or me. Do you have questions about this? Anybody? Questions? Go. Beth, I need all questions on microphone because someone commented that they didn't hear a question.
Good morning. I'm having a hard time resolving how not to take it personally when the collective, we all absorb that collective energy. How do we differentiate if
What's tell me no pronouns.
Well, getting back to the rape of the Muslim community, how do we not take that personally when it's part of our collective energy? How do we corral it in an energetic? How do I corral it in an energetic way to? Am I making the question clear?
When you say I take it personally, what does that mean? Tell me what that means to you.
As you were just saying, you're saying that we all absorb it. What happens to the one happens to the whole.
That's correct.
And one of the reasons why I don't watch the news is because I already know it's existing. I feel it existing.
That's correct.
So how do I resolve that for myself with that kind of energy being absorbed into myself?
That's part of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to go into how do we transition this, which is as we change ourselves, that's our role, is as I transition within myself, heal myself, I am healing the whole. And that's, you play by higher rules now. One of the things Teresa of Avila said, obviously I keep referring to her because she's my girl, but I think this is hilarious. She wrote about war. And there was war in Spain back in 15. There's always a war, but she says she's commenting on the war being fought with cannons and swords. Isn't that hilarious? Would that we still did. But she says in her prayers, why don't you just be done with us if we're always killing each other on the battlefield? She said, if we cannot seem to find peace, if we always seem to go to war, this could be written today. But then she says, but you've given us the greatest weapon of all. You've given us prayer. And I know what that does. And I know what that does. Now see, here again, I'm going to refer to what I just said. If I say to an ordinary mortal, why don't you pray? They're like, because they don't get what holy conversation is. They don't get what grace is. They have no idea, because in this world below your waist, you think power is in your hands. You think power is loud. You think power is sound. You think you've got to see it. You think you have to scream it. You think you have to throw something. You think it has to, what can I do? I have to. You have no idea, just like with your body. I urge you to listen to and get that you come up here. And I want you to think and dwell and reflect in your own life how truthful it is that when something powerful changes in your life, powerful, it begins, how often it began with the tiniest thought. Tiniest thought. that someone can come in and scream and yell at you, and it does nothing. It does nothing. But in fact, what has moved you to the greatest power in your life, the greatest power that has empowered you the most to become the hugest, greatest, biggest you, has been a download of the tiniest that has sparked some soul explosion in you. And if you follow the spark and let the spark incarnate, follow your sparks, become a sparkler. But I'm serious. But so just say, spark me up. Spark me up. But have the courage to become a sparkler. Every day. Just say, hit me with a spark here. But if you really open those lines of communication, they never stop, and you cannot turn off heaven once it starts talking to you. Don't even consider it. But once it starts, you'd never ask me that again. You understand? And let me also say, heaven doesn't play fair. Okay? And it actually sends you where you would not go. And 1,000 times you will say, are you kidding me? And they're not. They're not. It will always send you where you would not choose to go. And that's when you know it's God talking to you. Because your ideas are always safe. And heavens are never. They're always high risk. And they always involve someone else whose life will get better because of you. That's the signature. Got it?